So this book, I Would Die If I Were You, is a craft book, but it's not prescriptive. So it's not like a step-by-step craft book. And I like to describe it as a book for smart, sad people because it does engage with a lot of different philosophical frameworks that have helped me to tell difficult stories. But the whole upshot of the book is to help people who have really difficult stories that people might say that's too sad or it's too much or no one wants to read that, and help them find strategies to write it anyway, which they should, and to be able to present that with confidence and saying, like, these stories are important. I mean, if you've lived it, it's important, but that doesn't mean that you may not need help telling it well. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. And I think it's like I've been like sharing little nuggets from it since I got to read it. Yay. Because I feel like one of my friends right now is really in the sort of the meat of the sandwich experience where, her mom is like sick and
Yeah.
her dad is sick and she has young children and it's like all happening right now. And I was just like, well, maybe buy this book. Like,
Thank
so you can
you.
write about
Yeah,
it. Because it's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Um,
also, I'll say too, it's designed for really busy people.
yeah.
People like single moms, like you and me,
Hmm.
people with a
Yeah.
gazillion jobs, people who don't come from ancestral wealth, people who are in the sandwich generation and trying to balance all of these things without having like so much cognitive overload they're about to explode, but still want to create. Like you can do it 10 minutes a day. It's like a lot of the exercises is like you have an idea and there's a place to put it and a way to think about it. So it's not the old sort of patriarchal male writing teacher that's like you must write for the same 4 hours every day. And then when you look deeper into that, you're like, oh, right, you have someone cooking and cleaning and like running your life. And that's why you can spend 4 hours in your chair being creative and brilliant. Like this is for, people who don't have that privilege, which is, I think, most people. I think. I mean, I do know some people who do have that, but it's few and far between. And I just think you don't have to be someone who has a lot of wealth to be a writer. It's easier. But what I'm hoping is that this book, written by someone who grew up, working class kid, will help anyone just be like, oh, I want to do this. And there's ways to do it, to work it into my day, not as like to maximize my time, but something that's really fun and feels like a fun thing to do for 10 minutes. Not like, in those magazines where like, get up and squat for 10 minutes if you have time to make sure you're working on your butt. It's like, no, dude, like, why don't you spend 10 minutes doing something creative? Like this whole maximize our time. Like it's annoying me. It's annoying to me. Like I think, no, do less. Do less, get more, right?
Yeah.
Let your brain.
It's interesting. Yeah, sorry. It's the whole thing like I would die if I were you, or like that doesn't like I can't imagine that experience. To me
Right.
has always felt really similar to this question that I get a lot, which I think is really well intentioned, I appreciate it, but it's just like I like how do you do it? I can't imagine. Or it's like when you see somebody who's actually managing to create inside of an experience like this, it's like I actually that's even more impossible than the experience that you're experiencing,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, no, I think what's, people there is, I mean, I've written about this before. I of course can't remember where. Well, people are like, oh, wait until you've got it all settled before you write about it. And as you know from your own experience, like sometimes there's an animal living in your wall, like when you're a kid, and things are real weird. And so, of course, like the brain wants to frame it. It's like brain frame and not brain freeze, but brain frame. You want to figure out like what's going on? Like, what's the story? Like, you can't wait until you're ready to talk about it. I mean, some of the best writing, I feel like the most amazing writing experiences that I've had, I wouldn't say they were happy, but they were really like effervescent and like really intense were during grief because I felt like I was doing something that had some kind of a positive endpoint. What that was, no idea. But it wasn't just like changing a tube or, firing up a machine or, waiting for something crappy to happen to my kid. Like it was just pure. It was a pure experience in the midst of something that felt real evil and real dark and really like almost impossible to navigate. And compared to that, writing feels like a breeze.
Right?
So there's that.
Yeah, and you write about that in the book. Like you were writing the still point of the turning world like during the experience
Mm.
with your son, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about that and also just how the stories work in the structure of this book? because you do kind of tell stories before or throughout, like explaining the craft piece.
Yeah. So yeah, with Still Point, I mean, I honestly like I never would have written that book if it hadn't been for friends, which is basically the story of my life. I would definitely be dead if it weren't for my friends. And I was just not answering the phone. I wasn't responding to emails because I was just whatever. I couldn't function. And my friend Weber said, why don't you start this blog space and you can just tell us what's happening so we're not worried. And then I kind of got into it, obviously, and then wrote a book. It just felt so good. Like, but she gave me that kind of door opening permission, the idea. I never would have had that on my own. It was the last thing I expected to be joyful in that time was I'm going to write, and it was. So yeah, writing in the middle of it was what was great about it is I knew the people who were reading it were like, with me in it. Like they weren't passive bystanders. Like, of course, like when it was a book, obviously, like strangers read it and that's fine. But the intention, the audience intention was like a close circle of people that ended up expanding. But I think that also made me feel like I could do more things in my writing that I had wanted to do before, like bring in philosophy, bring in random stories about Gilgamesh or whatever, like, use the degree that otherwise basically had no purpose. So that was fun. And then in I Would Die If I Were You is, 25 years, Oi, of teaching a lot of different people and using those same frameworks. I realized that I had been using those frameworks the whole time to try to understand, to parse out things in people's work. And I just thought, why not name it and like talk about it? Because, I spent a long, long time in my early life studying random white male philosophers who are talking about how we know what a chair is. I mean, if I can't put that to use, that feels pretty dope. Like 10 years of that. And I was like, wow, that was time well spent. But now it feels like it was because I can have this way of talking about art that isn't criticism. Like if I'm not a literary critic and have no interest in being one. It's basically just like what does thinking about the world and self teach you about writing the world and self? And so that's all these dudes were doing, talking about the world, self, faith, love, whatever. And so those are the things we're talking about in nonfiction and in fiction, right? So it's been really like, thanks, Enlightenment guys. Like they ended up being really useful to me, which, a philosophy degree is useful. Tell that to your parents.
That's right. I mean, my dad had a philosophy.
Of course he did. Oh my God, I love your dad. I love his
I know.
unfinished book. Remember the sections from that?
Oh God.
There was nobody like him. Like, and I know that's probably like a blessing and a curse, like equal, but you really like his character, man. I mean, I don't think I've ever read a more lively dad character in my life. I mean, lively in all of the annoying and awesome ways that he seems to have been. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting because I think about like that book. I think like all at the same time. Like you were just talking about blogging. And like back when you were blogging, I was reading blogs. Like I had young children right around the same time. My oldest was born in 2009.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, it's like and I was like I had like a recipe blog.
Oh, that's so
Mine was like
cool. Oh my God.
yeah. I was really into CSAs and local food, basically like a proto trad wife except liberal.
That's so
And
You're making lentils. You're like, lentils.
I was totally like catching a sourdough from the
Oh
air
my
and
God.
talking about it.
Ahead of the curve, Asha. Well done.
I know. I know. If only they were like, cool. That specific writing style also like back when my dad was like right after my dad died, there was Live Journal, right? Which was like that same kind of thing where it's like you are actually writing about this as it is happening with
Right.
no strategy. That whole era when you were doing that was like I just think it's such a profound era of like mostly women writing in the middle of different experiences and like very publicly without having any kind of end goal or idea. I think eventually, like when um, people started getting sponsorship, there was like a
Yeah,
commercialization of it. But for a minute there, it was just people telling stories on the internet
it's
to each
true.
other, which is
Yeah,
so interesting.
it is interesting. And the whole monetization of the blog thing is kind of bewildering to me. First of all, I don't know who would be advertising on mine. Like that would be some pretty grim advertisements. Like what's that? But I think that's definitely true. It felt more of an intimate, like it was different than just public journaling. I felt like it
Mhm.
was like crafted, curated stories.
Yeah.
Um, and it was like, it was people talking to each other across different experiences, but mostly women. And I think because probably the men were like, well, I'm not going to do this unless I get paid, or there has to be recognition for this. And women are like, whatever, we're not waiting around for that. Like, we know that's maybe never going to happen. Um, I mean, it's interesting. Like, and to have that energy of like when I was writing the blog, I was writing first to like just my friends, like my circle of friends, my family, and then people started to share it. But I felt safe writing about what was happening to me because I never intended it to be read by anyone else. And when I did move it into a book, I did work on it to be read by everybody else. You know what I mean? And I had guest
Mhm.
bloggers, like my mom wrote like a blog that had every sentence had a punctuation mark. So that didn't go in the book, obviously. So there was a lot that didn't go in it. And I had to move and shake it around, but it was very a permissive feeling. And I think actually I would die if I were you. I never thought about this, so you asked that question. Is trying to help people give themselves permission to do
Yeah.
the creative thing, um, regardless of what happens, because you just never know anyway. Like you could have a great plan and a marketing plan and a whatever, and it could still not do what it's supposed to do. And what it's supposed to do is to serve people, not make you
Yeah.
rich. I mean, the people who get rich on writing, they're not bad writers. They're lucky. It's just lucky and it's chaos and chance, right? And I remind
Hmm.
myself of that as someone who isn't rich and hasn't gotten rich on my writing, which is fine. And I'm like, no, it's not, I didn't do anything wrong. I just did my own thing. And my audience isn't everybody. Oh, well, you know.
Yeah. Or it is, and it's just like this weird swings of market, like that
Yep.
don't bring things in front of people the way that we would like them to, which um but like as I was reading your through your book, I was just thinking about like the value of documenting too. And like it's kind of tied to that permission thing because I feel like when I was taking my daughter to like a bazillion appointments and like I mean it was insane. I was like exhausting myself and when I look back on it now, I'm like, well, that's like a journey. Like,
Yeah.
why wasn't I documenting it? I mean, I was through Facebook
Yeah.
posts,
You could go
you
back and
know.
I mean, first of all, you are a fantastic mom. Like, I love
I
the way
ditto.
you parenting and the way that you are with your kids. And but you could go back to those Facebook posts and just
Yeah,
I swear to God, if you read them, you would it would totally trigger memories for you. Like anything
yeah,
you needed to remember, you would remember. So it's okay that you didn't
yeah.
talk.
Yeah, that thank you. I think that's valid and ditto. And I just like I think that that permission is so hard to give, but at least like with some of your strategies, I'm like you could at least look at it like this is just a way of documenting what's happening and I can go back later and do all the other stuff. And I
Right.
really like that permission. Like it's just like, adding a different perspective to the documentation. It's not journaling, which for some reason I feel like people just have this resistance to journaling. Like what happened? Like nobody journals anymore.
I mean, I do actually. I don't keep a journal for writing purposes. I keep a journal for sanity purposes and for to-do lists. Like I do definitely
Mhm.
write in it, but n very little of it is useful. However, I will say when I do have an idea that pops in when I'm complaining about whatever or whomever, I like dog ear it and write like what it is. So like the journals are dog ear, little little bursts of maybe literary interest, with a lot of whinging in between.
Yeah.
So I do think people do. I mean, I think a journal is useful in terms of finding things. I just think sometimes people don't understand there's an additional step. Like when you're journaling, you aren't necessarily crafting, you're digging inside yourself. And yes, something might kind of pop up, but it's maybe not something that you're ready to share or that's ready to like have a home. I mean, I remember once I was on a plane and I had somehow paper cut all the ends of my fingers. How? I don't know. Like
Mhm.
I was dripping blood, like, and I was crying. And
Sorry,
uh
it's not funny.
right. No, it is funny. And I didn't have anything to write on. I was having all these ideas. And so I kept asking the stewardess for napkins, right? And I was writing on the napkins and then I felt embarrassed. And so I started writing on my arm in Sharpie. And the guy sitting next to me was like, "You're having a really hard time, aren't you?" So British. It was like coming back from London. I was like, yeah, yeah. And he went on a journey and like found like some loose sheets of paper from like random passengers and brought them back because he was like, I'm not going to sit next to this woman with bleeding hands who was literally writing on her arm in Sharpie, I'm going to die over the Atlantic. Like, I mean, so that wasn't journaling. That was like grief writing. And it was urgent that I write it down. And then later I looked at it and like half of it was gibberish, and half of it was actually okay. So thanks, guy on the
Mhm.
plane. And covered in blood, which was odd. But so I think it's, I do think people need to get whatever they need to get out in a journal. And then, but I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea to go out in the world and feel like you have to record everything because I think
Mhm.
your mind will give you what you need to know. Like before we had phones, sounds like an old person. Before we had phones, but the first time you went anywhere, you were taking pictures that you didn't know what they would look like, and then you'd get them back and be like, "Why is there a sheep in the picture? Who's that?" And it was like a form of discovery. Like there was some mystery in
Yeah.
your photos. There was like you couldn't remember everything because you didn't document everything visually or in paper. And I do still have such vivid memories of going on trips as this child where no one took pictures. We didn't have a camera. And I don't know if I'm remembering it correctly, but those images are very vivid and available to me. So are they true? Are they not true? Who knows? But I don't feel like looking at a journal would have helped me. Yeah.
Hmm. I like that. There's something that you talk about quite a bit in the book about like this group of people that came together. Do you
Mhm.
want to talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like there were so many insights just about like what storytelling means and how it happens that came from that
Yeah.
group.
Yeah, the Lost Ladies, which I didn't name it that. Someone else in the group did. It was just I was tired of going into situations and people would ask me about my life and be like, "Oh, I would die if I were you." They would say that, which is super rude. And after I wrote Still Point, I had a lot of parents write to me. And I already knew some parents from the Tay-Sachs community. And I just thought, in this group, it's for example, in the Tay-Sachs group, we can all tell these really frank stories because we're all in the same shitty boat that's sinking.
Hmm.
So we're all trying to like help each other with the life vests, essentially. And I just thought everyone should be able to have this experience. Like, oh, people, there isn't always a group of people. Like, if you're someone who loses a child to gun violence and you live in a town and you're the only one who did, you don't have a group. Or you lose two of your children to suicide, or you lose your kid in a car wreck when you're really young. Like, who do you talk to? Like, how do you write that story without people being like, "Eh?" So that's how I kind of came up with it. And a lot of the strategies were strategies. Strategies is not a word. Strategies came from those quote tragedies, which we tried to re-center around story. And it was an amazing, like, just to be in a group of women who had all experienced that in different ways. So nobody was like shocked. You know what I mean? Like no one was like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, that I couldn't do that," or whatever. "I would die if I were you," or "I can't imagine." Like everyone was imagining everyone's sad story. So I kind of
Yeah.
thought it was like strategies for tragedies. I really, I sort of fumbled those two words together, but it really helped to do more imagistic, intuitive work like the planet of your story or like the city of grief or a shape that's sort of intuitive as well as talismanic. Like it has like a sort of a way to embody the story in an abstract way can actually help you concretize certain scenes that might feel unbearable to write. And so they were kind of the test group, I mean, and that can apply to anyone. Like that people, bad things happen to people all the time of different various degrees. This just happened to be the one kind of loss that was the most immediate to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I like love about your writing that I find like it's just so like I want to say like I feel like I'm like at home with it is just like that there's constantly more tragedy. Like it's
There's
just
always some shit.
endless.
Like when does it stop? I think it's
Never,
never. Like,
never when you die.
yeah, it never does until you're dead. I mean, and that's the sandwich generation too, like you were talking about before.
Yeah.
Like now, when my son died, my parents they weren't like young, but they were in their 70s and they were healthy, and now they're not. Like,
Hmm.
that's the next sad thing, or
Yeah.
something else. Like, I mean, we have so little control over really anything at all. Which is
Yeah.
why things like weaponized wellness and goop exist because people think, well, if I buy this banana candle or whatever, or if I get this $10 juice, I'm somehow creating a bulwark against myself and mortality. And it's like, no, you're not. You're just spending a lot of money on stupid stuff. Like, still gonna get you.
What I really like about your memoirs and this craft book is just that it's like, I feel like it's not an alien experience to experience horrible shit. It's like the most normal thing in human life. Like, I think everybody has experienced it or will very soon. And yet we just act like it's so alien. And I just feel
Mhm.
like if we just flood the world with these stories, that's how we change people. Like, people are like, oh yeah, that's just the loss that happened to you recently.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's
We need like a Noah event. We need like
yes.
flood of sad. Like we do. I think it's
Yes.
true. And because this is interesting, when my uncle died, he was an Irish Catholic guy. It was an open casket where they'd done the whole thing. I hadn't been to one of those funerals in a gazillion years, and I took my daughter. And I thought she was going to be completely wigged out by like seeing a dead person who looks like a real life person in a casket, and we just stand in this line and say hello to people who all look the same, like for hours, like in this small town. And she was so interested. She was like kind of touching him, and she was like, "Oh, he has a lot of hair," which he did, and just kind of really gently, like, and I was like, "Oh, kids know, like they do understand death. They get
Yeah.
it. They're not these little sheltered beings." Like, and I was so proud of her, and also surprised that she was so unbothered by it. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was going to be bothered by it too, and of course, then I wasn't. But I think we know what's coming. It's just why not just admit it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
just to me, it's like the intimacy of life is totally impossible without that. Like, I
Yes.
like if you can't walk up to a body of somebody that you knew who is now dead and touch them,
Mhm.
then like why could you do that when they were alive? Like, I don't understand the difference. It's still the same body. Like, it's so strange to me that we like separate. And of course it's horrific. I mean, like, I probably told you this the last time we talked, but like I'm like pretty like hardcore. Like, I don't have reactions to things very often, but when my chihuahua that I had adopted a year before died suddenly and my kids were freaking out, I like cried for months.
I get it. No, yes, I get it. It's like, and it's also a pure love, right? Like the
Yeah.
Chihuahua was a pure love, animals. It's like, I want to read, I haven't read it, but Pam Houston's book, I learned everything from animals. Everything I
Yeah,
know,
I want to read it too.
but that kind
Yeah.
of like, there's no complication. It's like the water just pours straight into the well and it never stops.
Never
Like,
stop.
it's so, oh, I know. It's, and also to see your kids sad too. It's like, you
Yeah.
know, it's intense. I'm the
Yeah,
same.
it's
Like, someone could be like, I mean, stabbed in the street, and I'd be like, wow, that's hard. And I would talk to the cops. But like, if I saw like a one of those ads for like kittens that don't get chosen in the pound or whatever, I'm like, oh my God, why won't they adopt those cats? Like, it's just so ridiculous.
it's so funny how like I think about it all the time because I'm like sometimes I'll like see a rabbit and I know it's going to die because we have this overpopulation of rabbits here and so everyone's poisoning them all the time. And I just see an alive, totally fine rabbit and I'm like very upset. Like, because
Yeah,
I'm like, your life is so short, like, and you have no idea you're about to die. It's so horrible for you.
no, and you're a little
And like,
rabbit. Like, yeah,
yeah.
how? Why are there so many rabbits?
God, I don't know. It's so weird in Seattle. It's like a rabbit-a-thon, like every year. And like, I mean, I've so far, knock on wood, have not run over a rabbit, but they are jumping in front of the car all the time. It's like a video game where you're trying to avoid the rabbits.
Frogger with rabbits. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah, no, I know. It's like, I mean, it's like that time, when there's like squirrels, like we have a lot of squirrels here. And I was like, there's always one that's like right in the middle of the road, just like daring you to hit it and like feel bad for the
Yeah.
rest of your life. You're like, I'm just gonna hit you. Just move.
Yeah. I'm and I have a Prius. So I'm like, oh God, like honk.
They can't hear you. Yes.
Oh my
You
God.
gotta get the like what do they have in my parents used to have these. They're like little whistles, silent deer whistles.
Mm.
So you
Oh,
turn them
yes.
on and then look for shiny eyes on the side. Like, just look for the shiny eyes because then they jump out.
I didn't know that existed. I'm getting that because there are a ton of deer here too. So, is there anything else you want to say about your book? I mean, I feel like it's just something that, like, if anybody wants to write, they should read this because most people who write are not writing about like the best day of their life.
Right? Yeah, my hope, my hope is that it helps people feel excited about writing. And I don't mean that in a silly, like summer camp kind of way. Although summer camp is dark. I don't know. I don't know why I went there. But it's, each chapter is like kind of standalone, and it's basically how I came up with the way of thinking about time or the way of thinking about layering. And so I want it to feel like it's totally accessible to anybody. Like you don't have to have a writing degree, you don't have to have any degree at all, you don't have to have any experience. You might need a pile of sticky notes. Okay, you don't need a lot of props, you don't need a lot of training. What you need to do is you need to be able to just trust yourself that if you are experimental and playful and look for joy even in the midst, even in the process, not the material may have no joy in it, but the process can be fun. And I think we do find some of our best writing when we're really, really sad. I've had that experience. And when we're having a good time. Like I think there's those extremes usually bear a lot of narrative fruit. Um, but I feel like a lot of writers, and myself included, kind of live in this middle sort of uninspired, which is okay. You can't be inspired all the time, but you can have 10 minutes where you're just thinking about something that you're creating that's just for you and that you'd like to share with the world. But if you don't, the storytelling process is making you feel more like a human being, in a world that's increasingly wants us to just die and go away. If we're not a certain kind of person, we're just irrelevant anymore. And this it's a kickback against that, I feel like.
Look straight ahead, the reverb says the tide is in.